Good evening from the Second Age of Reason. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit on the fringe. The fringe of what? Perhaps this time the fringe of the solar system. There has been discussion occasionally and questions asked about another planet, something beyond Pluto. And people have mentioned the name of Nibiru. And so, hence some interest, maybe like an Anunnaki. But that's just being silly after all. So, I thought I would just do a little research into the plausibility of that idea. So, what I did was I took the planets and I put them into a table. And I'll show the table several times throughout this video. And now, while we get into this, I'll give you a little bit of background about this Nibiru planet thing. It was supposedly a small other planetary system interacting with our 9 or 10 planet system, and it would come through every so often. It had 2 planets for sure, Nibiru and Tiamat, and the little star that were all in sort of a dance of an orbit around their center of gravity. And supposedly, one time they came through the solar system, the Tiamat ran into some problems further out, probably around Jupiter, Mars, and it broke into some pieces. Many of the pieces became the current asteroid belt, and another piece that went beyond became the Moon, which caused certain problems on the Earth, too, with initially being captured and making tidal problems. That's how the story goes. The other planet, Nibiru, did not suffer such a fate, and is still in an orbit with its little red dwarf, brown dwarf star. And supposedly it's in an orbit that cycles every 3,600 years. Now, there are certain rules about orbits, that the distance and the mass plays a role in the orbit of a planet or 2 objects in space. So, hence, you have, say for example, Mercury. Mercury is close to the Sun, and so its orbit takes only 88 days. And Pluto, which is 4 billion miles from the Sun, very far out there, takes 248 years. Well, clearly it has over 12 billion miles to go in its circuit, but still, because it's far out and the gravity pull is less, its velocity is less. So that's a 248-year orbit. Now, if something has a 3,600-year orbit, which is like 15 times that, it must really be far out there. Or it must be moving terribly slow. But given the dimensions and spaces in the solar system, some people are saying that it's coming in the year 2012. Well, if it was, and if it's 3 to 5 times the size of Earth, as some have postulated, it would be clearly visible now, and probably around the distance of Mars, at normal orbital velocities. If you go too much faster than that, say 50% faster, you will have hit the escape velocity, and you would leave the solar system, never to return again. So, I thought I'd just leave that with you, because if it was, 3 to 5 times the size of the Earth, and it was within the distance of Mars, I would believe it would be visible not only to the government, not only to universities, it would be visible to many amateur astronomers. And I think it would become quite the talk of the town. So, be that as it may, I haven't heard anything. So, I don't think it's really going to happen. I think this one, it may have gone out into escape velocity and disappeared once and for all. Now, if that's the case, then you really have nothing to worry about in terms of a planetary catastrophe at that point. So, some would say, if it's too far away to be seen beyond the orbit of Pluto, it would not be able to get here in any way, shape, or form by 2012. So that's out of the question. The other alternative, which is even more insane, is that Nibiru is some sort of spacecraft. And so, given different kinds of propulsion technologies and inertial dampers and whatever, it could travel quite fast and arrive here by 2012, all things considered. But if it's a hollow spaceship of some sort, it wouldn't have the mass of a planet. That size is quite questionable, though, to manage. So I still don't think it's really plausible. And so that's my take on it at this point. Now, if anybody else cares to refute this, if you have more facts that I don't have, please feel free to comment and supply us with your sources, and we would like to research that to be more sure about the subject. And I'm going to just leave you with the planetary table that I calculated, which includes the sizes of the planets, their respective masses, their orbits, and so forth. And you can study for yourself. That way you won't be led into panic by people who may have pseudo-theories and poor science. So, that's all for now from the Second Age of Reason. So, be seeing you.